Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. We're here today with a very special guest, a fellow Aussie, and he goes by DLC blogger. That's Maddie from Decentraland. So thanks for joining us today, Maddie.
Hey, this is awesome. Very honored. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're very lucky. We've got the new setup here at home, guys, with a new mic. So I hope I'm coming through crispy clear in your ears. And Maddie's a professional blogger as well. And we're going to dive into the world of gaming, Decentraland, virtual reality, augmented reality. This is all built on Ethereum. Some of you will already be familiar with Decentraland, but for those that aren't, what is Decentraland in a nutshell, Maddie?
Decentraland's kind of a simple but complex concept to understand. Depends if you're much of a gamer, but it's basically a platform, kind of think like Second Life, where you can own parts of the world as plots of land. So you can own 16 by 16 meter plots of land, and you can build whatever you want on those lands. So people are building conferences, games, all kinds of stuff, right? And the cool thing about this is because it's built and integrated with Ethereum, there's a bunch of cool things you can do with smart contract integration. You can own these items, so you can own your name and you can sell your name. If you have a really cool name like Neo, maybe that'll be worth a lot of money in the future. So you can sell that. You can have clothes that are NFT tokens, and you can sell and buy and sell them. There's a market for them, and so when scarcity is kind of added to things, like there's a scarcity element to the land parcels as well. So this whole economy built around this open world where people can do whatever they want, and it's kind of meant to be like a VR type of thing in the future. So we're building up to that.
Awesome. Yeah, I love on the website where it says it's the first, I guess, land or game that's created and owned by its users. So it's a little bit like, for people to understand this from a conceptual level, all the Bitcoin, I guess, miners and nodes and investors, they're kind of in charge of the network. And it's the same when we're starting to build these other games where, as you said before, the users are in control of what they want the land to be, or the set of rules or whatever it is. And we've started to build out these tokens, the NFTs, so non-fungible tokens that we've spoken about on the channel. And I'll just give you a really quick look, guys. So I've just signed in, and all I need to do is sign in, because we're on Ethereum, is click on my MetaMask or connect your Ethereum wallet. And again, that loads your profile. So people are starting to understand these concepts of you own your own data and I own whatever it is, the piece of real estate that I might buy and come walk over here, and I own that house or whatever it is. And in this world, we might go over there and, go on an adventure, or we can go over and watch a game of sport, and that might be soccer players live. Go to someone else's house and play poker. So it's up to you. The possibilities are literally endless on what you can do, because it's whatever the users want to create within this framework and this set of rules. So I'd love to get your thoughts and describe everything that you're sort of excited about, and just how this has all come together, Matty, because it's just awesome.
hmm Yeah, I mean, another part of Decentraland, like you just mentioned, is one part of it's the visual aesthetics and the fact that you can walk around with your friends and all that kind of stuff and visit cool things. I mean, that's like, the base level stuff for online platforms that do similar things. But the cool thing about this is it's in the name, Decentraland, right? It's supposed to be decentralized in a certain way. Part of that is governance, so we can govern the land and what happens with the world, and kind of tell the team what to do based on a DAO. So there's going to be a decision making left to the community that we can vote using our mana, using our land weight, on what we want them to do, when we want them to prioritize them. Do we want an auction now? Do we want an auction in the future? So there's going to be all these questions that we can kind of govern and push Decentraland in the way that we want it to be, through the DAO. So it's so exciting to be part of like this whole innovative kind of governance type thing, and also visually see it being rolled out.
Yeah.
I'm excited about a lot of stuff, Alex. I'm excited about just being part of this new industry that's gone from like a $0 economy to like tens of millions of dollars traded in land and assets and all this stuff that people are finding interest in, and people are making galleries and selling art from their Decentraland parcels. It's just, there's so much I could talk about.
I'll just jump in quickly for people that don't understand. A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, and the idea behind it is that the users are in control, like we just spoke about. So in Decentraland, the token or currency, I guess you can call it, is mana.
Mhm.
And then, do you want to maybe describe the rules? So is it sort of a one mana, one vote? And I'm sort of picturing, again, this concept I want people to understand is, instead of having like a government and we elect one person to make decisions for us, and they normally don't do what's best for everyone because there's money involved or whatever reasons, corruption. for the first time, you're sort of giving the users, well, they all get a say on what they think's best, and they're not going to create heaps more land if they want that land to be precious and scarce. So how does that work? Is it one mana, one vote? Can you sort of delegate, and is it going to go down this path of electing an official for your area of Decentraland, or how's this all work?
The concept of governance by the community is there. How we roll it out is kind of being fine-tuned as it gets rolled out. At the moment, it's very simple to put one mana per vote and also have like land. So whether you own land or mana, you have some sort of weight in voting. And one vote per mana coin is what it used to be. Now they're going to add, 1,500 mana per land that you own to add to that. So if you have 10 pieces of land and 15,000 mana, so that's like 30,000 mana voting weight. And it's simple, but just rolling it out real quickly so that we can put it into place and put it into practice and see where the kinks are and add more complex governing structures as we need to. That's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, maybe there'll be an elected official for certain zones. We don't know where this is going to go. That's something that the DAO will come to agree on or propose. But again, like on the concept of Decentraland, it doesn't stop at just the governance. I mean, there's the servers are hosted by community members. So if Decentraland decide to close that down and close their server, the project's still going to run. It's still going to be active. It's a forever type of thing. Ideally, right? As long as the servers run and people are hosting Decentraland content, then it's going to run forever. So that's the decentralized process runs really deep with Decentraland. It's because the people behind the tech are very deep into that whole part of probably more than the world itself.
Yeah.
So
what's this is something that, again, I'm kind of almost a bit worried about what your answer is going to be, because I passed up on buying mana and the land in the initial offerings. But how many squares of land are there? What was the price that they first went for? What are they worth now? How is that all developing?
it's probably one of my probably one of my favorite topics. Decentraland land mana, I think ICO'd at 2 cents. Currently, it's sitting at maybe 4 cents. Obviously, Bitcoin doing crazy things the last 2 to 3 years has affected the price up and down, but we're pretty happy. It's kind of gone up since ICO, or at least held its value somewhat. In terms of land, so what happened was in late 2017, people could participate in a land auction, and there was 45,000 private pieces of land up for sale. And there was a bidding system for 2 weeks, and you could place a bid on the land, and if no one beat you for that 2 weeks, then you own that land at the end of the 2 weeks. They sent out NFT tokens that represented that land after the 2 weeks. So with that happening, most of the land sold for about 1,000 mana in the far outskirts. As closer you got to the center, it's kind of like real estate in the real world. Land that's close to the roads, land that's close to the center city, land that's close to certain districts that are very promising and projects, they seem to hold value, and they seem to be very popular. So land that was really close to the center, probably the best parcel in the whole game, sold for about 596,000 mana or 600,000 mana, which back then would have been like, I think 50 to 60,000 USD. It was something really crazy, because back then mana was 10 cents, right? And the cheapest land, 1,000 mana, was selling for about 100 USD, 150 USD. So there's a big array of things, and now it's matured quite a lot. And the cheapest parcel is about 14,000 mana, so it's gone up quite a lot for the cheapest parcels. And we've seen the market mature, and we've seen, okay, wait a second. So now with 2 to 3 years of transaction history, we can tell that land close to these particular areas are worth this much. Now the community knows very well what land's worth and what. But what we're seeing now with Decentraland being rolled out in the last 6 to 7 months, they've gone public. So now everyone can jump into the world. We're seeing values increase where big projects are kind of opening up shop. So, I think OpenSea bought a land in a certain area. And I know when I talk to certain people, I tell them, OpenSea bought here, so-and-so bought here. And they're like, oh, well, we want a spot there. And even though it's a little bit more expensive, they'll buy it because it's near some promising projects. So we're seeing that sort of affect the land pricing now.
If I could just jump in again for people at home. So OpenSea is a decentralized marketplace. And so now we have, again, it's these DeFi Legos. Well, it's not even DeFi. This is another sector that I'm excited about. It's the gaming Legos, because they all click together. So someone in the decentralized world can go to the decentralized marketplace and buy the T-shirts or the items they want. And now that's forming a little sort of community. And maybe there'll be, I think we're going to touch on the recently you had like a soccer tournament there, and maybe there'll be like a soccer tournament clothing store. So it turns into like the real world where you'll get home, you might dive into the virtual reality, and on a Friday night you might want to go and watch the virtual game of soccer with your friends and put on different clothes, and it's just mind-blowing stuff.
Totally. Yeah. Opens. I keep forgetting to describe the term,
That's
but
my
like you
job, mate.
said,
It's all right.
yeah, OpenSea is a big marketplace, and there's all this, like you said, it's kind of like a Lego. All these projects are kind of building independently, like art galleries where you can buy art pieces that are represented by NFT tokens. That these are going for like 50 to 100,000 USD. Some of these art pieces, and you can display them in Decentraland and build. You can buy and sell them in Decentraland. Display them in your galleries if you want to. Link to them at different websites and stuff. And again, we can get into like how everything's integrated, but it's such a deep story.
I think people at home are pretty familiar with ERC 20, all your tokens, but we've got these other standards that we have touched on the channel, ERC 721 and 1155. So they're the kind of a smart contract with their own set of rules where you can make items and they can have certain qualities and store certain data. And that's, I guess, why it's like a standard, isn't it? That these different games or protocols can all sort of work together because they have a framework, a set of standards.
Yeah, I think that's a good example I use, and something a lot of people kind of know in the space is CryptoKitties, and CryptoKitties is probably a good example to take because they're ERC 721s, right? They are tokens with data attached to them that show you that if you own certain, they're not interchangeable. So one ERC 721 is not equally is not equal to another ERC 721 because it's you can attach different parameters to it. So it's one CryptoKitty may be generation one might be generation 10, made 3 years later. So there's different value there. So
and we're talking about compared to a Bitcoin or a Litecoin, where all the
yeah,
coins
exactly.
are the same. Now, with NFTs, can you have like fractional ownership? Can I own half a CryptoKitty? I can't split it in half and sell half each, but can I have partial ownership of an NFT?
That is very interesting you ask that question. You actually can't in the traditional sense, but there's this really exciting project that's come up. They're called Niftex, and they're really cool. So what you can do is you can shard your
Ah,
asset.
yeah.
Have you heard of
I
that?
think I read about this just the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're really cool. I've been in touch with them, and basically, if you have a really popular asset, like say a popular game item that's worth like maybe the community, it's like one of the most popular in the community. It doesn't really get used often because it's one of those things that you just collect because it's maybe one of the first items. But it's worth like 50 to 60 Ethereum, and usually one person owns it, right? They keep it in their wallet. You don't really see it often. But Niftex, what you can do is you can shard it and you can split it into say 10,000 pieces of ERC 20 tokens, and then community members can own those tokens, and now suddenly the community owns that asset, right? As what I understand, the asset gets locked up in their contract, so you can't actually um, like use it in the in the game or the platform. But now suddenly people use it, and there's like some sort of a buyback clause if you want to. But there's also we had an interview with Neon District and a couple of other people in the space, and we were talking about now community members own these ERC 20s. Maybe we can have some sort of in-game characteristic where we can give value to those ERC 20 tokens. Maybe people can have a special effect with their game character if they have them because they own part of this special item. So suddenly it's gone from this one NFT token that usually one person has and doesn't really get that much attention other
Yeah.
than it transacting once or twice
Yeah.
every 3 years, but
I
to
think
something that we can do a lot more with.
I think I think you said seven. You meant 721 just then, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
No, that's all
probably
right.
did. Yeah.
But again, in my mind, I'm trying to put together the tech side of things, and I can imagine you can have like a partially owned, and you sign it with the key, and 10 players have a sword and they can take it in turns, or maybe you buy that share house in Decentraland with 10 friends and you've got to book in advance your timeshare when you're going to go and
Oh, yeah, maybe.
go there on the weekend. But yeah, I wasn't sure how much you wanted to get into in terms of competitors versus the working together because we
Of
can
course.
do this. So we've covered Engine a few times. You just mentioned another one then in the Sonium space.
Mhm.
What was the other one you just mentioned?
Did I mention another competitor? No.
It'll come to me in a second. But either way, so are you guys looking to be able to integrate all these items from one to another? Very friendly, very open at the moment. It's just so small, or is it sort of a bit of competitors coming out in terms of, we don't want land there and land there becoming valuable?
I think Decentraland and Engine are pretty. I don't think they're direct competitors. I understand they're both probably platforms in the space. But Decentraland is just like an open world. You can come and build whatever you want in it. So we're kind of open arms to Engine if they want to come build something, and we want to accommodate ERC 1155, I think is their token standard for a lot of their games. I'm sure we could, you know, get them on board and build. Maybe they'd probably want to build a headquarter, and we can hold meetups and conferences. But there's definitely competitive, some sort of competitive and friendly nature with our direct competitors. I don't know whether to call them friends or competitors, but in the sense that we're sharing the same space. So there's Somnium Space, there's Crypto Voxels, there's the Sandbox that also have this land ownership platform where you own this land uh, in this project, and you can build whatever you want on. Crypto Voxels and Sandbox have more of a Minecrafty vibe. So it's like putting together voxels and making art and games and those kind of things. But we're all kind of traversing the same space, and the niche is so small. I mean, we're probably 100th the market, probably one 200th the size of the Ethereum market cap.
Oh yeah.
We just have so much space to grow that if any one of us makes it, it's just like awesome for the space.
Oh, exactly. I'd probably say thousandths of the space. And for people at home, there's always going to be the the Ethereum maximalists who don't like other smart contract platforms. But that's why I try and stay fairly impartial, because it's the same in the gaming space. Whereas I just do not see the point of being tribal at this stage where it's just so tiny, and they're probably all going to work together anyway. But did you want to show us a few little things? I know you mentioned the soccer tournament recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So I can. It's a very visual thing, so I'd love to show you guys some of the projects we've been working on.
So, guys, if
Maybe.
you're watching the podcast, you won't see this, but you might want to come back and check it later, and it'll all be timestamped.
So we had a soccer tournament the other day where someone built a big soccer stadium, and we can go in there and play 5 versus 5. And all of this runs through the browser. So there's no Steam download to download or anything like that. You can just put a URL on your parcel of land, and then when people click it on Twitter, then they can jump straight into the action. It's actually really cool. But 5 versus 5, so we had 24 teams in this space come battle it out for an NFT cup. So this cup is an NFT token. Whoever won it, they got sent an NFT token. And the cool thing about this cup is it's gold backed. It's minted using the DGX token. We had the DGX guys, Bullionix is the guys behind this gold backed NFTs project. And suddenly all these NFT tokens that are minted with the DGX token, like medals and trophies, they have a base value because you can kind of melt them back to their base gold value. So that's pretty cool. And then, yeah, we went in and it was a pretty heated battle. 24 teams came together to fight it out. But this is just the start of competitive gaming, and hopefully we'll have things like basketball matches, hockey stadiums, pool games, chess tournaments, and all kinds of things in Decentraland. Conferences, I love holding conferences in Decentraland. I'm a very business entrepreneurship kind of guy, so you can see people come and watch Meta Factory and Cent, and we had a few different projects that came for our first conference. They all talk behind a screen, and we can share like videos and things. Maybe in the future we can share like 3D models. We can just kind of teleport in a 3D model someone's working on and tell us about the project, and maybe have someone buy them straight from the project. My dream is to have some sort of a Shark Tank type thing where we can fund projects that maybe give a pitch to the audience, and we can fund them straight in Decentraland. So these are all things that you can do in a like a smart contract integrated platform that you can't really do in other ones. We had a fashion show recently where people came and modeled some of the stuff that they were working on. Let me see if I can find a good spot. There's a lot of people here.
Yeah, no, that is awesome.
And lastly, we have art galleries. This is, of course, a handful of stuff we're doing, but we have art galleries where people can. This was in Maker's Place. So Maker's Place is an art minting platform, and we had Jose Delbo, who is one of the very early comic book artists for a lot of Marvel comics. He's 87 now, and his grandson, Clark, whose name is Nick, he came in and he's trying to get his grandpa involved in kind of producing art and showing his comics to the NFT world. And it's so cool because we can integrate them with platforms like Decentraland. We can buy his art straight from Decentraland, and he owns the rights to these. So it's just so cool what's happening, and how platforms like Decentraland is kind of meshing them together. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, my mind is already racing with all these different ideas. The idea that the people are familiar with DGX, that's one of my favorite platforms. But now recently they actually shut down their Digex, the DAO side of things, but they've still got the gold backed token. And what Matty was saying in there was the prizes and the gold backed cup that you win is backed by real gold in the real world. So that sort of thing is just such a big leap forward. And then the art gallery. So I've got someone gave me some super rare arts for my birthday, and I might be able to hang them in my house in Decentraland soon. So this is all coming together. We just saw, well, you guys at home are looking at it on a flat screen, or you can play it on your computer, your laptop, probably mobile versions as well. Can you put on your helmet? Are we already to the point of complete virtual reality if I want to attend a conference and look around and sit next to the person next to me, but they could be on the other side of the world?
Not yet, not yet. It is core part of the project, but I think the challenges they face is some sort of a fluid performance and stability level with all of these things integrated, and all running in the browser. If we weren't running on the browser and we had our own standalone client on Steam, it would have been such an easy thing to kind of flick the switch on. But I think they're the challenges they're facing, and it looks promising to something like Q4 or Q1 next year. I don't want to put a date on it, but they're definitely experimenting with it. They're doing some prototyping, but it shouldn't be too long, and I think that's really going to take it next level.
Are you familiar with a little project called PlayKey? And they're doing like the live gaming where you're streaming from your someone nearby rather than a server super farm. Because I know all the big players like Nvidia are getting into the sort of more of a decentralized gaming model where you're streaming from people nearby you. But PlayKey, this little Russian company that I really like the idea that you'll be streaming from a neighbor near you. And when you just said that, I'm kind of picturing, well, could you partner with them, or would you guys be in the model where, hey, maybe I've got a really good computer, so I'm running a Decentraland server, and everyone that's playing down here in Tasmania, I might be the closest server, they've got a good internet connection, and that'll make that streaming in real time with virtual reality more possible? Are they the sort of technical difficulties you're facing?
They are, but I've never heard of Play Key, and that concept. I've thought about that concept, but I didn't really think anyone's doing it. But it seems like something that would be a good fit to what Decentraland would want to do. It is something that we face, having a server that's close by and as latency that works with minimal latency issues works really fluid. Some people during the soccer tournament, some of the players would be located in a very different location, pretty far from the servers, not really have a local server, so he'd ping out, and the other team members would carry the game through with for him. So these are small issues that we're having. They're kind of funny to watch, but they're the stress testing part of the platform at the moment.
That's so interesting. So for again at home, for people, pinging out means basically like you've got a bad connection, and playing soccer you can't really afford to be a second or 2 seconds behind the other players. Whereas if I'm at a conference or there's certain things, if I'm looking at an art gallery, that is less important if there's a second delay. So these are the technical challenges, but like everything, they will be solved eventually. It's just a matter of time.
I think pioneering a space where you're trying to push decentralization, trying to build on Ethereum, which has tremendous challenges, especially in the gaming space, because NFT token transactions, especially with gas fees going wild, with ERC20s, it's not as expensive to transfer tokens, but with ERC721s, sometimes it's like 5 to 8 USD to just transfer a token, right? And that's extremely unsustainable. So it's these challenges that we're kind of, it's a new platform in every direction. Even VR is a great concept. It's working really well, but it's still kind of niche. There's not that many people out of 100 people that I know. There's probably like 1 or 2 that have VR, right? So it's still, even that part of it's very new. And trying to put all these together, there's challenges, but there's tremendous momentum in the direction. And the space is so exciting to see people innovate on, especially with the gold-backed tokens and Niftex and how all these are going to come together.
In terms of scaling, are you guys looking to implement like optimistic roll-ups or some of these newer techniques that other projects are using, or are you, the dev team, are looking at your own scaling solution, or how is all that going?
So we're pretty good friends with Matic. I think the people that run the Matic project, I think it's a sidechain solution. I'm not very
it's a variant, so it's a proof of stake and plasma chain sort of hybrid model, but it is built for gaming. So
yeah. So they're pretty good friends with the guys with Decentraland. I think 2 years before they've been doing some prototyping and testing, and they've been able to transact assets in milliseconds with like fractions of the cost price. So it's a matter of integrating them. I think they released their mainnet just recently, Matic. So if I'm really excited about that integration, because suddenly it opens up these frictionless transactions, which is key to gaming, right? especially for a space that like Decentraland that's going to thrive off a buzzing economy.
Absolutely. We love dad jokes on the channel, Maddie, and I think you just missed the chance to say it's just a matic of time with that one. But
There we go.
sorry about that for guys at home. Other things I had on the talking to do list here. There's been some big investment already. So you said that price hasn't moved a lot, and I don't really want to talk about price, but I just more the backers. So Barry Silbert, who owns Grayscale, Mike Novogratz, who owns Galaxy Digital, recently partnered with Samsung. So there's some big players that are getting behind this, aren't there?
Yeah, DCG were one of the very, very early investors, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I invested. I was like, well, these NFT projects, they're really new, and you want to go behind something that's very well funded, because if the market just doesn't is not a nice market for the next 2 to 3 years, and we're in a bear market, are they going to thrive? Are they going to push through it? And for me, someone like DCG backing a project like Decentraland is very, very promising. They own a lot of land, they own a lot of mana. Barry talks about it in public, so I'm excited to see what he's going to build. He's just put some prototype buildings. He's got like a space where he's built like 20 to 30 buildings with his partner logos on it. So maybe he wants to do some sort of like a business center or something. But seeing who he's going to bring in and how he's going to roll out and what he's going to roll out, that's exciting, because people that have the funding to build good projects and to bring partners, they're always exciting to watch, and to see what he can do visually with the platform. That's going to be exciting. So there's a lot more VC firms getting involved. There's, I don't know if I can name names, but there's other projects and other VC firms, other people that have gaming blockchains, that games built on blockchain platforms similar to Engine, that want to dedicate a lot of time and money to building on Decentraland. So the more of these guys we can get, the more stronger the base layer of the platform is going to be.
So I'm picturing Barry Silbert. If I was him, I would be trying to encourage my Ethereum investors to learn how to do this stuff, and then they can hold their next investor meetup in Decentraland, where all the guys get together with, not quite the virtual reality like we said just yet, but talking to all the other investors and holding the meeting in a virtual conference. I'm already thinking we could do like a Nuggets News, our members group. We could hold like a meetup there, like have a Christmas party there, and everyone sort of logs in and has a virtual meetup.
It's you can awesome. Even do this thing. So there's a project where you can own NFT tokens, and those tokens can be like access tokens. So if you have like a private villa at the top of your project, only people with these access tokens can enter it in the world. So if they click the door, it's only going to open for people that have this particular token. So these are some things we can do with NFTs that I don't think you can do with ERC20s.
And you could sell. You could say it's it's $10 for a ticket to the Christmas party, and then people they buy that, and that actually gives them the physical access to the building to come to the Christmas party.
And they can buy the token in the world itself. So there's no reason to buy it offline. And there's this really cool concept. It's called POPs, which is Proof of Attendance Protocol. I think that's the long form of it. And basically, for our events, we have these POP stands where people can go in and buy one of these popes, and they're basically like a badge that you went to this event. And that's pretty cool. Like, some people like collecting these things, and if you collect all of them for a specific event, like for the soccer tournament, if you had all 24 or all 15 or however many days we ran it, then you got like some special art at the end. So there's like these cool, weird things that are happening, and people are kind of getting involved in their own ways. And the whole COVID thing is very sad, but it opened up this whole new event solution thing that Decentraland and other platforms are just so happen to be in the right spot for, was to, these like popes and people that wanted to show their art and event, conferences. So all of these couldn't happen in the real world. So that's where everyone started to see the value in having these in the digital world. And we're pretty excited for conferences. And I think, Barry Silbert coming in, or whoever wants to come in and run conferences for their projects, it's just awesome to hold them and have like 100, 200 people tune in to see what they can.
I think as the ambulance goes back, thanks for muting there, Matty. The COVID narrative and just where the world's heading, I think that in itself was so bullish for crypto. But now that we have actual physical attendance of conferences, one of my best friends works in audio visual, setting up for those conferences, and they're just they're not having them anymore. They're moving to online. So I think the thesis behind this is so bullish. And full disclosure, guys, I've got gaming tokens in my portfolio for this reason.
Basically meetup.com I mean, I'm not sure how much people are meeting up there, right? That whole website and the whole concept of meeting up in the real world in Australia at least has stopped. So they're all basically people that would be interested in having some sort of a virtual conferencing presence, especially if you can look to your neighbors and whoever's running a conference next to you and walk out and meet a new bunch of people that didn't come for the conference but came for some other reason, meet new people, interact, share details, maybe trade something. It opens up these new doors. So technically what we should be doing at Decentraland is knocking on every meetup.com, project and being like, hey, you want to run a conference? Here we are.
Um, in terms of the graphics, I know people will say they're a little bit retro and they're obviously not as good as some of the modern games, which you've got to the point now where it's realistic and almost real time streaming realistic. Can you guys? Is it technically possible to sort of have? And I know Matic does this, I think, where you can have the side chains with their own set of rules, so people could go and play these games that are top quality, and then that's sort of whatever they achieve, the experience or the items, that is the part that just gets settled on the blockchain. So it's not like all games are going to be that retro looking lower quality, is it? It's going to be better going forward.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So Decentraland only have these soft limits because we're stress testing everything. There's so many things to iron out, and it's hard to do that with really, high graphics quality.
Yeah.
But it's all built on, I think, the Unity engine. So it's
Ah,
all
okay.
it can all at the end of the day we can get as good looking in graphics than any other project out there. But as tech limits increase and as we get more and more stable and things run more fluidly, it's just a couple of things that they got to tweak on their end, and things suddenly we're going to be able to build cooler and more graphically aesthetic things. So,
Hey guys, if you're not a techie person, go to YouTube and just search for latest gaming engines, the latest graphics engines, and it really is to the point now where it's just real life quality in real time, and you can skip pebbles across water, and they've programmed the physics of everything from light to water. That is all now in the code, and it is amazing the point where graphics have got these days.
I think there was it Call of Duty that had like a recent game that really explored the graphics in VR and all that concept. I've seen some videos, and yeah, man, like you said, it's amazing what people can do. Especially with, I think it traditionally took a lot of heavy coders and designers to build worlds like that. But I think these days, especially with AR and things like scanning these things into existence, basically, like you can scan an apple and put that into your world. Those type of technologies are coming through. So those really low effort but high value things, when they come together, I think they're going to just blow up this space.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. If you've seen the videos where they do scan the apple and they're like sort of 3D, and then they put the light across at different angles, and the AI, the artificial intelligence, sort of builds that into the code, and it's very easy to do. And I guess that leads into the next point about what you guys are building and the software development kits. So what's sort of on the table, or what have you already got for the developers to come in and just plug in nice and easy to what they're already familiar to start mucking around and building things that they want? How's that all progressing?
We do have our own SDK. I'm definitely not the best person to ask in terms of the in-depth, like the coding and all that. It's not really my thing.
Neither am I. That's all right.
But I know that they have a pretty complex SDK kit that you can really build whatever you want. Multiplayer games, as you saw with the World Cup game, that was built by one person. One person, 1 month, built this multiplayer game with great 3D graphics, as good as we can get it in web browser. But we can build whatever we want with the SDK. It's not very limiting at all. And the good thing is that Decentraland people behind it, they come from a strong tech background. So you have people that build projects for different reasons. Maybe they're like VR, maybe they're like just the aesthetics of the world and what it's going to become. But I know Decentraland, particularly, they come from a very strong tech background. So the decentralization process is going to be deep. The SDK is going to be deep. And what I've heard from the builders is that it has everything you need to build whatever you want. It's really getting the right talent and that momentum where 5 or 10 to 20 developers are continuously releasing things, and we're innovating on whatever's being released. That's probably the next play. We have about 22 million mana a year in funding that they've dedicated to people that want to put proposals and build their own projects. So that comes to about $1 million per year that we have in funding. So it's just, people can propose what kind of projects they want to build. And if we can get this sort of momentum for game developers and conference builders and all that kind of stuff using the SDK, I'm sure we're going to see the limits pushed with the SDK.
Um, And you're in Australia, Matty. I mean, Australia just bats above its average so much. Some recently we've had like half a dozen of the best DeFi projects now as well. So it's great to see you're in Australia. Is there any other Australians? Are the Decentraland team based in San Francisco, or and where's the sort of yeah?
They're actually Argentinian, so they're based in Argentina. I think maybe some of the people are based in UK. I think Sam Toonpunk, he's the admin. I think he's based off UK, but the core team they reside in Argentina. I'm not part of the team. I'm just a community member that's just so involved in the space and running events, and I'm pretty integrated between the community and the team. So I'm based in Australia, and I haven't really met someone else in Australia that knows Decentraland. In fact, I actually just talked to someone, and she knew what Decentraland was, and I was just blown away. I was just almost fell off my chair. I tweeted about it, and people were kind of commenting. But she knew what the Mana token was. She knew what Decentraland was, and someone in Australia that knew what Decentraland was. I was like,
We have been talking about it a bit. So I wonder if it was one of our followers. But yeah. I think that's just about everything I wanted to cover off today. We've gone nearly an hour, Matty. That's been absolutely awesome to give everyone a bit of an overview of what it is. It's something that I'll continue to cover and do tutorials on or walkthroughs, whatever you want to call it. But anything else you want to share with people at home?
My website's dclblogger.com. I have a Twitter called dclblogger. I usually share news and updates on Decentraland. Yeah. And it's a pretty in-depth project. There's so much happening within Decentraland itself. But I want to talk about the NFT space. We have Decentraland, we have Makerspace, Super Rare, like you said, an art platform. There's just so much innovation happening in the NFT space. If you're into Ethereum, 100% explore that space. It's just so fun to see visually what your kind of innovation can do, or what your coding with smart contracts can do. NFT space is so micro at the moment. I hope it gets more attention and attraction. I think it will, but yeah.
Awesome. I'll link all those below, guys, for you to click on and view Matty's website and Twitter and that. But that has been fantastic, mate. I really hope you guys have enjoyed that one. Please hit that like button, and we'll have to catch up again in future, Matty, and see how it's all going.
100%. Thanks for having me, and thanks everyone.
Cheers, guys.